Hey, in this video, I'll be showing you how I make my own circuit boards at home. I'll be documenting all the steps right away from printing out the artwork all the way through to reflowing your board in a toaster oven. So let's get started.
What notions?
Alright, so step one is just to print out your artwork. You can see on the screen here I've exported my artwork from KiCad to a PDF. It's just the top layer, just the copper, black and white, and also for your top layer you want to mirror it because after you print it out you're going to be flipping it upside down to put it against your UV light box. Alright, and so just taking a quick look at the artwork here just to make sure it's all printed out properly and there's no smudges or blurs anywhere. This one looks pretty good. Also, just as a quick aside, this is printed on tracing paper, which I bought from a stationery shop. It comes in A4 pads, pretty cheap, and I find it's a lot better than some of the other options like transparencies and things like that, because tracing paper, it holds the ink really well, it doesn't blur, and it doesn't crinkle in the printer. So by far the best option. Okay, so I've measured the artwork here just with a ruler. Added on about 1/2 centimetre on the edges just to give a bit of extra margin, and I've ruled that out on this board here. Okay, so I've got the light box all set up. So just to explain what's going on here, right? I have the artwork and I have the board. The blue is the protective covering that I'm going to be ripping off. So that goes face down, okay? So you want to have the ink of your artwork facing upwards and it's pressed against your board. So that's going to go like that. This will go on top of this. And then to spread out the weight, just to make sure that the board is evenly pressed against the artwork, I like to put some books on top. And on top of the books, I put some heavy stuff to make sure that it's all, you know, held down. And then that's it. So, okay, so here we go. Gonna peel off the protective covering. Throw that away. There's a mirror in the bottom of this, so I can kind of see how it's lined up in the mirror. That looks pretty good. Put the first book on, nice and gently. Second book, heavy stuff. Just set up my watch, forgot to do that. Alright, plug it in. Okay, so I just timed this on my watch. I give it 2 minutes and then turn it back off again. Okay, and that is time. Unplug it, take all this stuff off. Book, and there's the board. So now I want to show you what it looks like when you put it in your developer. Okay, here we go. Board, you can see there's no light. I probably shouldn't have such bright a light on it, but so once you throw it in, mix it around, and you can see the resist coming off, and straight away you can see your board. And there, that's it. And now a bit of a trap is, you know, for when you're starting out, you might think that that is developed, and I've actually made this mistake a lot myself. What you need to do is put on some gloves and just feel the board and make sure it's, run your fingers across it. So that's what it's looking like right now. But if you rub your fingers across it, you can see there's loads more coming off. So just to make sure that it is fully developed, just run your fingers across it and make sure no more resist comes off. Alright, so I'll finish developing this and get back to you. Okay, so it's kind of hard to get this on camera, but just to show you why it's kind of important to leave a bit of a margin in. I'm not sure if you can see this, but see up near the top here where the resist is a little, oh, not the resist, but the copper is a little bit kind of warped. If that had been the very edge of our board, that would have been kind of encroaching onto where we want to etch, and it would have messed things up. That's why I normally leave like a bit of a margin around it. Just when you're cutting it, it kind of happens sometimes where you'll mess up the resist. Doesn't matter how careful you are, really. Okay, so I'm going to very gently just dry the board, just using a dabbing motion. Make sure you don't like rub at all, because if you rub, you risk rubbing off your resist. And the reason why I'm drying it is, I'll show you now in a sec, I want to cover up the extra copper that I've left. Because if you have copper around the edges, it's going to take ages to etch. Okay, so that's pretty dry. So just to cover up that copper around the edges, what you do is just get a permanent marker, any type will do. I have a Sharpie here, and just draw. Okay, so I'm out in the shed right now. It's best to do this in like a well ventilated space or whatever, because when you heat up the acid, it releases this gas that's you know, bad for you, obviously. So I've brought out a kettle as well. I've just boiled it and let it sit for a few minutes, so it's not like, it's not boiling hot. It's just pretty warm. And what I'll do is just pour in the hot water. Alright, now just throw the board in. Agitate it a little bit, let it sit, and then come back and agitate it, and just repeat that until it's done. Alright, so just a quick check-in. Board's pretty much almost etched. You might notice that all the black is gone, and that's because this is a different board altogether, because I messed up the last board. Went for a cheeky cup of tea, thought I had time, came back out and half my traces were missing. It's pretty upsetting, to be honest, but anyway, back here with board number 2. It's going pretty well. I'm standing right beside it, keeping an eye on it, and we're almost done. What could possibly go wrong? Alright, so we're fully etched here, all done. So you'll probably notice this bit of damage around here, and that's because when I was cutting the board, I didn't file it, and I also didn't put any black around the edge, black marker, because I was really lazy, and I just thought, I'll just go for it. So that's what can happen if you don't file your board. It'll lift it up a little bit against the edge and mess up your resist. Other than that, this etch is looking pretty good, gotta say. Alright, so now we're moving on to reflow. Alright, so I've just rinsed off the board, gotten all the acid off it. I've got some nail polish remover and a kitchen roll or paper towel or whatever you want to call it. And just gonna put a bit of nail polish remover on this. You just dab it on like that. And come along with this. And there's all your resist. And then just come along with your flux pen and coat it. There we go. Alright, so the board's coated there with flux, you can just kind of see it. Alright, so I've just laid out all the parts. I like to just lay out a piece of paper and write the value of the component on it, just so when I'm laying it out it's a bit quicker. I keep all my parts in one of these boxes. You can get them on eBay for about 20 quid. Search for like SMD component box, seriously handy. Come with loads of little compartments, and you can just come with labels and you put whatever parts in you want. Yeah, definitely the best way to store your SMD parts. Alright, so now I'm just going to start putting on the solder paste. Okay, so I'm just about to put the solder paste on the board. Solder paste I got is made by Chipquick, and it came with syringes. So this is my first time using it. I'm going to try and use the syringes, see how that works out. I've used other syringes in the past. If you buy, you know, tubs of your solder paste, you can get packs of syringes like these from China with the plungers. You can get a pack of them for like €4 or €5, and they do work pretty well. But I'm just gonna, instead of taking the solder paste out of this and into the tubes I've already used, I'll just use the one I have, see how it works out. Okay, just a little bit. Just wait over the camera. Alright, so I'm gonna move from one side to the other. Okay. Alright, so I'm over at the oven now. I've just put all the parts on the board, and I'm going to very carefully open this out, plop the board down, and in we go. Okay. There we go. Set it to on. Okay. So the temperature is 49 degrees. Normally just let it go up to about 100 or so, and then like leave it at 100, let the board settle, and then I might leave it to settle for like a minute or so, and then after that I'll ramp it up. This solder paste is made by Chipquick, and it melts at 180 degrees, so alright, I'll just leave it off there now. Okay, so it's been about a minute. So I don't really use the temperature control here. I mean, I have 0 to 230. I just kind of whack it full blast, and then once it gets near what I want, I just turn it back off again. Alright. So you might not be able to see it on the camera, but I'm keeping an eye on, just checking out the solder paste. Right now it's all still grey, and the DC jack is the biggest part on the board, so as soon as that goes, I'll know it's done. Alright, so here's the finished board. I did, if you just look over here, there was a bit of a bodge I had to do. Turns out I got the pin out of the DC jack wrong. So this pin over here doesn't actually, that's like the sense pin or whatever it's called. So anyway, it turns out this pin's ground. I just had to bridge it out to the ground plane and it was all good. Seems like everything else soldered pretty well. The programming header over here is a little bit wonky, but that doesn't matter. The USB connector went on fine. All these headers are fine. There was a couple solder bridges on the the Atmel chip there, but I just got rid of those with some of the solder wick. So yeah, it's all good.